Welcome everyone to the Wheels Museum on this very beautiful December day. We're so thrilled to have one of our closest friends with us today, Tony Gomez. Tony, how long have we been friends?
Oh, I think I've known you since 2013.
Okay, so over 10 years.
That was my first visit here.
Really?
Yes.
And you've been a fantastic volunteer,
Thank
wonderful
you.
volunteer. And we
It's
don't know
been an honor.
anybody who knows as much about history as Tony Gomez. He's very humble, but when you start talking, he knows it all. So we're thrilled that you're here today.
Thank
Because you
you.
have a very, very special subject to talk to us about today.
Yes, I do.
Tell us what you have in mind.
We are going to talk today about the Grant Opera House, which was located at the northwest corner of Central, which was Railroad Avenue at the time, and 3rd Street.
And when was the Grant Opera House built?
The Grant Opera House was built in 1881
Wow.
by Angus Grant, one of 3 brothers. The second story housed the opera. The first story housed the ill-filled mercantile store. The Grant brothers, they are very prominent brothers. Angus Grant was railroad contractor, very wealthy railroad contractor.
Interesting.
Grants, New Mexico is named after the 3 brothers, the Grants. So,
Were there people in those days in 1881 that were able to go to an opera in Albuquerque? How many people would there be who would attend an opera in 1880 in Albuquerque? There must have been fewer than 10,000 people here.
yes,
How would they be? How would they be inspired to build an opera house here?
well, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
But I believe that they needed some kind of entertainment out here at the time.
Okay.
Even though it was a young town,
Yeah.
starting off, they needed some entertainment. We seen that with other people who built theaters like the Sunshine
Yes,
Theater.
yeah.
But that was way later.
Yeah.
But Joe Barnett was into theaters in the
Mhm.
early 1880s also. He had a couple of theaters on 2nd Street, in fact.
Was there any kind of a program or anything? Is there anything left that we would be able to see? What were they showing? And who would be the local people would be performing in these operas, or did he bring in people?
Yes, they would have local people performing.
Really,
Yes.
really? Do we have?
So they kind of built their own entertainment at the time.
Was it all opera, or was there other kinds? Was there burlesque, or what else were they doing in there?
It was pretty much opera.
Opera.
Yes, and
That's
a few
amazing.
different plays that people would come up
Would
with.
come.
Yeah.
Incredible. I wish I could
Yes.
see that. I would love. Can you
There's
imagine?
not very much as far as information on the name of the plays or the name of the operas, but
yeah, I can imagine.
it
that.
was pretty popular.
How big
opera
was
house.
it? How big was the building?
It was
No.
very large. It was a very large. It took up the whole corner there on 3rd and Railroad.
Wow.
Yes.
And is that where Jerry Rail's law office is now, or was it across the street on the north side?
What is there today is the remaining of Q Burger. There was
Okay,
a
so
burger
it's on the
joint
north
there.
side.
Yes, the northwest side.
Northwest side.
Now Q Burger came in and they modified that building, which used to be the New York Stock Exchange
Yes,
building.
I was in that many times.
Yeah.
Were you ever in that building?
I never got a chance to go inside.
I was, and you could see it, at the very top, you could see the stocks coming by.
Mhm. I did
Yeah.
get a chance to view some of the inside when they were gutting it,
Really?
the large beams and whatnot.
Wow.
But the owner of Q Burger came in, modified the building, and used it for his own business, which was called Q Burger.
Yeah. Now, the Ilfields, we knew that family. My family worked with that family. And today on Facebook, I saw some woman posted, and she said, I'm a relative of the Ilfields. And there is an Ilfeld here who was a young guy who was working at Cliffs Amusement Park. But the Ilfeld family, of course, was so important
Yes.
in the early development. So, do we have any idea what would have been in their building for the Ilfeld company? What were they selling?
They were selling pretty much everything: jackets, clothes,
Okay.
shoes, some groceries, canned foods. They were into everything. The Ailfields, they were probably the #1 merchants for groceries and clothes
Oh, wow.
in New
Wow.
Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think my family was doing business with wool and other commodities like that of that day.
Right.
Probably pinon nuts and things like that. Oh,
Right,
I'd
yeah.
love to go back there. Well, tell us more.
So the Angus Grand Opera in 1889, it did catch fire. The fire department at the time was run by another prominent individual by the name of Bernard Roop, or Roopy.
Oh, yes.
He was the pharmacist
Yeah.
in town. He ran it, the fire department, and he suspected that the fire ignited underneath the stage somehow.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, so the place went up in flames pretty quick because of the fact that it was all wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it caught fire real quick.
Oh, my God.
Ruby's firemen decided, and Roop decided, we cannot save this building. So we need to get everything that we can out. We need to save what's inside. So the people that were watching the fire got involved and they helped pull things out. And some people were tossing things out the second story. So during all that time, there was a discovery, and back in the 1862, I believe it was, during the Civil War, there were some cannons hidden in Old Town. They were buried right behind the San Felipe de Neri Church. Okay, later on, these cannons were exhumed.
Mm-hmm.
There was a request to look for them and find them and exhume them. So that was done. There were 4 cannons given to Albuquerque. 2 of them are at the museum, Albuquerque Museum. They're in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the fire was going and people were going inside and bringing things out, they went up into the second story into a realtor's office. What they found in there were 2 cannons. Now, when we talk about cannons, we need to realize that there's 2 pieces to what would be considered a cannon. You have the barrel, and then you have the carriage.
Right.
And a lot of people will tend to think the whole thing is a cannon. It's not a cannon. So these cannons can be removed from the carriage and put wherever you want to put them or hide them.
Uh-huh.
So these 2 cannons were found in the realtor's office. They were brought down safely and they were kept, but something mysterious happened. 2 of the cannons went missing, not found yet today.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
They went missing. We don't know which 2. Nobody knows which 2, but 2 of the 4 went missing. This is why Albuquerque Museum has 2 left.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to have 4,
4.
but the 2 went missing. We don't know if the ones that were carried out of the Grand Opera House building are the ones that went missing, which I would probably think they did.
Yeah.
Those were the ones that went missing.
Fire somebody?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And during that fire, there was another prominent individual by the name of William Cobb, a famous photographer in Albuquerque. He was a veteran volunteer fighter for Mr. Roop. And he was inside doing some work in the building during the fire. And he happened to get injured because of falling timber.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he was later okay. But this goes to show how these people come together, with these famous names, Roop,
Yes.
Cobb.
Yeah, fabulous.
And,
Now, what was the
they all-
name? What was the name of the people who owned the real estate company? Do
That
we
we
know
do
that?
not know.
We do not
We do
know.
not know. No.
Really?
If I would guess,
Interesting.
I would have to guess that it was DKB Sellers, the famous DKB Sellers who created Napio,
Interesting.
because he was very much into
Wow.
realty,
Yeah.
and he had a couple of places downtown, a couple of offices here, and he would try to convince people to go up to the new zone up there.
I see.
Napio.
Interesting. Now, do we have contact with any of the relatives of any of these people? Of anybody around?
Sadly, we do not.
Nothing.
No.
Nobody's here.
No,
The
nobody's
Grant
here.
family is gone.
The Grant
Rupi
family's
family.
gone, the Rupe's family's gone.
Yeah. Oh,
But that would mean that there has to be some distant relative
yes, that's
somewhere.
exactly,
But
exactly.
they've never come out. Everything I've talked about online or on Facebook, they've never come out and
Yeah. to be
mentioned that they were related.
Now, was the entire building lost? The Elfield building part was lost too?
Yes, the entire
Everything
building
was
was lost. The biggest loss was the Elfield
Yeah,
store.
yeah.
He lost thousands and thousands of dollars that he had, in the store.
Yeah,
So he took the biggest hit.
yeah. And then he moved, didn't he? Didn't he move to First Street or something? Where did Elfield?
Yes, he
Yeah.
moved. I believe it was down First Street.
First Street.
Yeah,
I think that's when my father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First Street around
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a fast! I feel like you've taken us through a movie, through such a dramatic
Yes.
of our city with people that we knew. I knew Mrs. Rupi, and she invited me into the drugstore one time, and they were famous, of course, I'm sure everybody knows, but they were famous for all the herbs and the special
Yes,
kinds of
yeah.
healing abilities that they had.
Mhm.
And she took me into the back of the drugstore, and she showed me this huge room. You know what it was full of? Costumes for dancing, for flamenco dancing and
Oh,
other
wow.
kinds of beautiful dancing. And I said, why don't you put those on display someplace? And she didn't. And she kind of looked at me and said, well, do you think people would want to see those? I said, well, they would love to see them. And I don't know whatever happened to that. And then we lost Mrs. Rupi, and now it's an
Wow.
art gallery, I think, over there.
Yes.
And they don't have the drugstore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to create a museum of some sort.
Some sort of
over
an art
there.
museum or something. There's a picture of her on the wall there. Of
Yes.
the drugstore.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
on Fourth Street.
recently visited Mr. Ruby's gravesite
Really?
over on what is it, Sunset Memorial Park.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Angus Grant, by the way, is buried at Historic Fairview Cemetery.
Really?
Yes.
No relatives, nobody we know.
Nobody
It's amazing.
that I have come
How
across.
sad. How
Yes.
sad, yeah.
And he died in 1901, so he missed out on a lot of things that were going to be happening in Newtown, Albuquerque.
Sure.
He was like Franz Huning,
Yeah.
they both invested in a lot, but they didn't get to see very
the
much.
result.
Yeah, the results they missed. Franz Huning passed away in 1905.
Oh,
So, it was something that they really invested in and didn't get to see
the
too
fruit
much of
fruit
the.
labor.
Yes,
That's
right.
why we want to get that machine shop going now.
Right. Oh, that would be great.
That would be great,
That
exactly,
would be
exactly.
great.
Because we want to see everything come to fruition while we're here to enjoy it.
Right, yes. And the Q building, the Q Burger building is still standing.
Yes, yes.
It's a very nice building, the way they remodeled
Yeah,
it and everything.
yeah.
They had a very large pool hall on the second story.
Right.
So it's vacant now, I believe. I'm not sure
One
what
time-
they're going to
what they're
do
gonna
with
do.
it.
One time I went in there with a bunch of city people with the thought of occupying it for something we were gonna do with the city.
Uh-huh.
And then we went in there and the building was dark, very, very dark. And we were coming up the stairs and we got so petrified because a huge flock of pigeons that had come in the window came after us and attacked. It was like that movie, The Birds from Hitchcock.
Yeah,
So
that
I
was-
always think of that building that way, and also that it had the stock exchange in there, so that was a very interesting
Right,
building.
yeah.
And our family had the business right down the street from it, which
I would have preferred it to remain the stock exchange
I
building.
agree, of course, that would have been
Uh,
wonderful.
It just stood out. I remember
Oh,
when I
yeah.
first walked through Central and I seen that building, I was like, what in the world is that doing here?
I know,
Why
very
is
impressive,
that
and
name
yeah,
here?
I agree. My father used to keep those books. Did you ever see those paper books that had the listings of all the stocks in them, the stock?
Oh,
books?
yes,
And it was
yeah.
so fascinating to read. I don't think those exist anymore. I mean,
No.
everything's on the web, but it
Yeah.
was so fascinating. You felt like you were delving into people's private lives, which you
Right.
were doing. You were
Yeah.
delving into their money to find out what those stocks were and how they were
Right.
up or down. So that was
Right.
good. Oh, this is
The
fascinating.
Grant Opera House was, the building was pretty much as big as the Joe Barnett building that was located right down the street on Second and Central.
How many square feet? Do we have any idea about?
Oh God, I'm not very good at
Okay,
that.
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah,
But it was huge.
Huge on
Yeah.
both levels.
It was very
That's
large
another story.
building. It occupied a good spot
That whole
there.
spot. And I think you brought us a picture today, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll show you that picture. Oh,
Yes.
Tony, this is fabulous. Tell us anything else if you want to, or is that?
Well, that's pretty much what I wanted to share.
That's the story. I love
thought.
it. I love it. You know everything about history. Here's what
you.
I'm going to share. I want you to come back and do this a lot
Okay.
because you know
We'll be
everything.
back.
This is a man who has told me, I hope it's okay to say this, he studies Albuquerque history 3 hours a day. Can
Yes.
you imagine a scholar like this to be amongst us and to be helping us the way you are?
Thank
So
you.
it's a great honor
Yes,
to
I
have you
do.
here and a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
And you're so kind to everyone and wonderful, and you epitomize Albuquerque. You're perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I love it.
I do
I
too.
believe Albuquerque is just a gold mine for history.
Oh, I do too.
You can dabble into anything. You can go
Yes.
to a cemetery and, pick out somebody's name, and before you know it, you have a whole study on that individual.
That's so fascinating. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful that you care, that it matters, that our lives matter
Yes.
to you and to each other, and that we know each other. My family's been here 5 generations now. We have a baby, so she's the 5th generation.
Mhm.
But I saw Eric Griego the other day. He did an event here. He was a state senator, and a
Okay.
wonderful person. He went to Spain, and now he came back, and he was a city councilor. He started the rail yard market with us in lives in Bud Ellis. And I said, well, Eric, how long has your family been here? Well, since Oñate, so
Oh, wow.
so he's been here a lot longer than I have.
Yeah,
but
he
that
has-
long history is priceless.
He has been here quite a while, it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like.
he's a wonderful
Yeah.
person, interested in
Well,
that.
the thing about Albuquerque, is, from my point of view, I live in this city, so I want to know about it.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And so
Yeah.
through studying, I'm finding out who built what, who did what for Newtown, Albuquerque, that, we live in today.
Yes, yes.
And I like to, honor those people that built what
Yes,
they
that
built.
actually did the building. I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but my uncle was the developer of Windrock Shopping Center. Sidney
Oh,
Hertzmark.
okay.
Have you ever looked into him?
I have.
Have you?
I
Okay, well, we'll
have
have to
been.
make that a story. He was very important in real estate here for a long time, and he did that with Winthrop Rockefeller.
Right.
Winthrop Rockefeller called him and said, because in that time there were not shopping centers, and nobody knew how to do that.
Right.
But my uncle had studied it away from here, and he was able to do it with Winthrop Rockefeller. So I remember when
Wow.
he came to our house, it was my mother's brother, but they lived a block away from us, and he came to our house and said, I'm going to develop it, and it's going to cost $7 million. And my father started to cry. He said, Sidney, it's way out there. It was walking distance almost from where we lived. It was, we lived at Constitution in San Pedro, and where Windrock is.
Oh, yes.
Close by, right near Monroe School, where I went to school and walked to. But my father started to cry. He said, that's way too much money. It'll never work. So it's interesting to study who believed in things, who didn't believe in things, who
Right.
did things, who didn't do things. I gave a speech yesterday about the rail yards, how the people in Old Town at the time didn't want it. They
Right.
didn't want it to ruin the horse and buggy business. So,
Right.
so it's always the back and forth. What should we do? Shouldn't we do? But I love that you're studying this, and I'm going to
Right.
beg you to come many, many times and do this.
Yes,
I
I
hope it was
will.
fun
I will
and you
be
did it.
back.
Okay,
I enjoy
okay.
it.
I'm happy. Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. If you have not seen our new airplane hung, it is unbelievable. We hung a Grob glider plane this week. It's 58 feet across, and our building is only 48 feet. So it's quite fascinating to see how did we get this huge airplane hanging in the ceiling of Wheels Museum. That's our newest excitement. Very, very thrilled. I want to tell you also and invite you, on the 11th of January, we're having Brad Clement. He's coming to play cabaret music, and that's going to be a lot of fun at noon. That's going to be at noon. So please come and hear him, and you can get dressed up in fancy clothes if you feel cabaret-ish, and that's going to be really nice. On the 18th, we have Jose Ponce coming. He's written many books. He's a musician. He helps other people. He's he helps people write books, and he helps them get them published, and same with music. So he's an incredible man, and he's going to be here on the 18th. There's no charge for that. That's 11 o'clock in the morning. Also, we're having on the 18th, we're having Kerry Grumbacher come. He's quite a famous musician of Western music, and everybody loves him. And that's that will be. Let's see, what time is that going to be? I think that's at noon, and that's $10 to come. So please come to both of those things. You'll have fun with both of them. It'll be very interesting. On February 1st, we have George Russell coming. That's $10 to hear him, and he's a fabulous musician. So please come and hear George Russell. On the 8th of February, we have Mike Katko, who's a very, very kind former school principal, and he wrote a book called Big Medicine and Pretty Water, and that is about Clovis and the railroads there and other stories about Clovis. Should be extremely interesting and wonderful. That's at 1 p.m. On the 8th. There's no charge for that event. And then we have something very exciting happening. On the 15th of February, we have a man named Jacob Decimus, and it's $10 to hear him and his 6-piece band play Haitian music, Caribbean music. It's going to be fabulous. We've never had the opportunity to have something like this before, so please come and get excited and dancing and fun and listen to this wonderful, wonderful music. And then talking about dancing, on the 22nd of February, we have Brandon Kennedy from 12 to 2 doing a headphone dance party. If you haven't been to one, you're missing a lot of fun, because even people who say, oh, I don't like to dance, or I don't know how to dance, they put on headphones, nobody can hear the music, and they're all going around dancing and having a heck of a good time. So join us for that, and that is by donation. So a lot of good things happening at Wheels Museum. We just finished putting in our 440 feet of track, getting ready for 5 private train cars to come, working on several other major projects on the site, and everything is very good and very busy. So come and join us and have a great time at Wheels Museum, right on the rail yards. Thanks.